Today I'm going to offer a response to a video from Dr. Rena Malik. She's a very popular YouTuber, has a couple million subscribers. She's a urologist. She talks about sexual issues. And in this video, she's addressing some masturbation myths. And I have some things to say about this. Let's take a look.
Masturbation, solo sex, self-love. What's the deal with it? Is it good for you, or is it causing all your problems in bed? I'm Dr. Rena Malik, urologist and pelvic surgeon, and today I'm going to talk to you about the pros and cons.
I got to say something about self-love here. If you really loved yourself, you would understand that your body is designed to be a gift to another. Loving yourself, in the euphemism, we just don't want to talk about what we're actually doing. That's why we call it self-love. But anyway, let's keep going.
Cons of masturbation, and I'm going to debunk some of the biggest myths of masturbation that I hear every single day. Over 90% of men and 75% of women report masturbating on a regular basis. So that's not surprising because there's lots of benefits to masturbation. In addition to pleasure, people report improved mood, better sleep, and even more focus. And why is that? And this is not surprising because when you masturbate, you release a number of feel-good hormones, including dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and even the feel-good endorphins. And masturbation is the ultimate form of safe sex. It not only allows you to experience pleasure, but also allows you to familiarize yourself with what makes you excited and gives you pleasure. So that you can
Okay. With great reverence for every human being who has been in this trap, and when I was a teenager, I was not immune. So I know whereof I speak. Nonetheless, it must be said, just the whole paradigm from which she's approaching this subject is wrong from the start. And I'm telling you, it is the result of wearing what I've called condom-colored glasses, right? When we wear condom-colored glasses, the goal of sex is no longer generating the next generation. Right? When you remove fertility from the sexual equation, sexuality loses its compass and it becomes completely disoriented. The goal when you remove fertility from the sexual equation is pleasure, because that's all that's left. And when that's your paradigm, the pursuit of pleasure, well, of course, masturbation is awesome, right? Because as she says, it's the ideal safe sex. The very idea of safe sex, is a child a threat? Is new life threatening to us? I know what it's like to bring children to this world. I have 5 of them. And yes, with the joy of being a father, there are burdens, there are sufferings, there are hardships. But if we're seeing a child as something to protect myself from, i.e. safe sex, if we're seeing sex as something that needs to be made safe because I might get a disease, we are just working from a paradigm that is so other than the paradigm of self-giving love, of losing myself for the sake of others, right? We're working from this paradigm that it's about me. Is your paradigm for sex self-focused, or is it other-focused? Is it focused on me and my pleasure, or is it focused on becoming a gift to another, committing myself to another, loving another, and the offspring that might result? If your paradigm is self-focused pleasure, well, then masturbation is your paradigm. If your paradigm is self-giving love, then you're going to recognize that masturbation is the antithesis of self-giving love. And masturbation will train your whole psychosexual development in the direction of pleasing myself. And then even when you get married, what you're going to be doing, if you haven't had a major change of mind, what you're going to be doing even in your marriage is you're just going to continue that masturbatory mindset, but you're going to be using somebody else's body to masturbate. Is this going to be an affirmation of the beauty and splendor and dignity and value of the other person and the value of the life that might be conceived? Or are you just going to be in it for yourself? Right? Here is the difference, bottom line, between Catholic teaching on sex and the secular world's teaching on sex. In the secular world's teaching on sex, the goal, the paradigm, the highest value is pleasure. In the Catholic vision of sex, the goal, the highest value, the paradigm is the dignity and value of the person, right? If your highest value in sex is pleasure, what do other people become? People become a means to your pleasure. And if your paradigm is pleasure, and people are no longer giving you pleasure with whom you're having sex, you just discard them and go find somebody else who will give you the pleasure you want. So you end up treating people as if they are dispensable, replaceable, and repeatable. No. Toasters are dispensable. Your toaster breaks, you throw it away, you get another one. Toasters are replaceable. You throw the broken one away, you replace it with another one. Toasters are repeatable. There are 1 million of the very same model of toaster in the Amazon warehouse. But the value and dignity of a human person is such that the person is indispensable, irreplaceable, and unrepeatable. This is why it hurts when people use us and throw us away. Doesn't that hurt? Pay attention to your pain. It's telling you something. Doesn't it hurt when people use you, throw you away, and replace you with somebody else? Oh man, it hurts. Pay attention to your pain. It's telling you something. Doesn't it hurt when people measure you against somebody else and treat you as if you could just be shuffled around because you're the same model or there's a better model than you? That hurts. Pay attention to your pain. Your pain is telling you that you are indispensable, irreplaceable, unrepeatable. When we hold the value of the dignity of the person as the highest value here, then we subordinate pleasure to that value, the value of the person. God created sexual pleasure. What's it for? It's meant to be the joy of loving as God loves, right? But it has to be subordinate to the dignity of the person. When we flip that around and pleasure becomes the highest value, now the person is subordinate to the pleasure, right? And if you don't give me pleasure, see ya, throw you away, replace you with another model. The whole paradigm here is that masturbatory, it's about me, pleasure the highest value. Sorry for my launch right at the start of the video, but it had to be said. Let's keep watching.
Communicate that with your partner. It also allows some people to experience pleasure without the added stress of intimacy or needing to perform under pressure. And the next caveat is... The added
stress of intimacy. The added stress of intimacy. What is sexual pleasure without the beauty of intimacy? If I'm being as generous as possible, is intimacy stressful? It's painful at times. It's a challenge. It ain't easy. It means making yourself utterly vulnerable and naked to the other person. But isn't that what sex is supposed to be? As a married man for decades now, I can say with certainty that sex calls me to be so naked, so vulnerable, so intimate with my wife. The only way I can be that naked and vulnerable is if this woman has pledged before God and the whole human race, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. When our paradigm is fear of intimacy, or if intimacy is just stressful, but I still want that pleasure, the paradigm obviously is masturbatory. And when the paradigm is masturbatory, you're creating an inability even to enter true intimacy. Intimacy, right? Intimacy. Is there real nakedness going on in the spiritual sense where we're opening our hearts and saying, into me, see? Masturbation can never, ever teach you that. And you come to think of it as stressful. Well, if you're not interested in intimacy and all you want is pleasure, well, go for it. Just keep masturbating. And I guess that's your point. Anyway, here we go.
Guilt. If you experience guilt from masturbation because of your personal beliefs, then that can be really detrimental to your sexual function and in fact has been linked to depression and anxiety.
Hold on. If you're experiencing guilt from doing something you shouldn't be doing, that is the proper response. I'm not saying some crushing guilt like you're no longer worthy of being a human person. I'm not saying you are forever doomed with no hope of redemption. There's always hope of redemption. Guilt when we do something we shouldn't do is the proper response. If you are feeling guilty for having done something, pay attention to that feeling. Maybe it's a recognition, like you put your hand on a stove and it hurts and you take your hand off. Maybe guilt is a similar kind of pain. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that. That's another way to look at it.
It is totally okay to abstain from masturbation if it makes you feel bad. But if it's something that you want to work through, you may seek out a sex therapist to help you work through those issues of guilt associated with masturbation. Myth number 5, masturbating means that you have a bad relationship. This is not true. Many people in partnered relationships masturbate separately or together, and this is not a reflection of the amount of love your partner has for you.
We've
or
already
vice
talked
versa.
here, but I can't help but commenting here. I can't let this fly. Masturbation is a different paradigm, right? It's a utilitarian paradigm. The paradigm is about me and my pleasure. When that's your paradigm in the marriage bed, truly, you don't really know how to become a gift to the other, right? The opposite of love is not hatred here. The opposite of love is using another as a means to an end. And it becomes sheer egoism when that end is just your pleasure. That's how masturbation will train you. So I have to firmly disagree with her here and say, if you are caught in the habit of masturbation, you are crippling yourself in your ability to love. Masturbation will train you in the exact opposite of love because it trains you in a utilitarian approach to sex itself. And when you have a utilitarian mindset, that is the exact opposite of love. Masturbation enslaves us to our sexual passions, right? At the bottom of all of this is your concept of sexual freedom. And what is sexual freedom? From the worldly perspective, from this woman's perspective, sexual freedom is the freedom to indulge your impulses whenever they hit, it seems, without ever saying no. I'm sorry. That is not freedom. That leads to addiction. A person who cannot say no to his impulse for alcohol is not free. And just binging on alcohol does not mean I'm free. It means you're in chains. If you can't say no to your sexual desires, you're not free, you're enslaved. Sexual freedom is not the liberty to indulge your compulsions. True sexual freedom is liberation from the compulsion to indulge. Only such a person can be a gift to another, right? Love one another as I have loved you. This is the theology of our bodies, right? We are called to love divinely. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother, be joined to his wife. The two will become one flesh. For what reason? To reveal the love of Christ for the church. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Love one another as I have loved you. I tell you this so that my joy might be in you and your joy might be complete, right? None of this is down on sexual pleasure and joy. But what is sexual pleasure and joy? It is meant to be a taste, even here on earth, of the eternal ecstasy and bliss of divine love, of the Trinitarian exchange. This is the theology of our bodies. It's meant to be, the joy of the marital embrace is meant to be a little glimmer of the infinite ecstasy and bliss that awaits us in heaven. When we treat it from this perspective, the utilitarian perspective, this is what we're saying, whether we know it or not. We're saying with that masturbatory mindset, I prefer the momentary pleasure of a self-focused, self-centered, sterilized orgasm over the opportunity of participating in the infinite ecstasy and bliss of the Trinity. And when you hold those two choices up and you choose the momentary pleasure of a sterilized orgasm over the opportunity of participating in the infinite bliss and ecstasy of the Trinity, I say, bad choice. There's another way to see, there's another way to think, there's another way to experience erotic desire. There really is. There is real freedom here, freedom to be a gift. If you can't say no to your urge, your yes means nada, nothing.